Now to our other top story, and the Vatican is preparing to lay Pope Francis to rest. We've learned his funeral will be held on Saturday. Crowds gathered for another rosary service this evening, but people far outside the Catholic faith are also feeling the impact of his loss. Leaders of other faiths say the Pope's message resonates with them as well. We have team coverage tonight. Jennifer Bisram explains the Pope's far-reaching influence, but we begin with Tony Aiello at the Vatican.
Jessica, tens of thousands of Catholic faithful and others who admired Pope Francis will begin the period of public mourning starting at 5 a.m. New York time. There will be a ceremony with chanting in Latin, including the Litany of the Saints, as the Pope's remains are transferred from the Casa Santa Marta to St. Peter's Basilica, where Francis presided as Supreme Pontiff of the Catholic Church for 12 years. Visitors will file past between 11 a.m. and midnight Rome time on Wednesday and Thursday, and for several hours on Friday. The health aide who was at the Pope's side during his long illness is describing Francis's final moments. Massimiliano Strapetti, pushing the wheelchair in this video, says the Pope's death was, quote, discreet, and he did not suffer. The aide says Francis waved to him Monday morning as if to say goodbye, then lapsed into a brief coma before dying. The death of Pope Francis means the postponement of an event that was widely anticipated in Italy and around the world, the rise to sainthood of Carlo Acutis, a teenager who died in 2005. It will not be held on Sunday as previously planned. Again, the public viewing before Francis is buried begins Wednesday morning. At the Vatican, Tony Aiello, CBS News, New York.
And here in New York, a second day of Mass was held at St. Patrick's Cathedral following the death of Pope Francis. Music filled the cathedral as hundreds of parishioners gathered in unity and knelt in prayer. City Council Speaker Adrian Adams, Reverend Al Sharpton, and Mayor Adams were among those paying their respects.
Transition from the physical to the spiritual is a moment for all of us to reflect on our actions.
And Timothy Cardinal Dolan will head to Rome tonight to attend the funeral for Pope Francis and then take part in the conclave that will select the new pope. We all remember the Pope's visit to New York back in 2015. He met and prayed with religious leaders of other faiths to spread a message of peace. Jennifer Bisram spoke with some of those people today who have not forgotten that moving meeting.
Pope Francis, his ministry was one of prophetic leadership, but also pastoral humility. There was a human touch that he had.
Pope Francis is being remembered for fostering solidarity, not just among Catholics, but people of all faiths.
I'll never forget that day. That was a moment in time that I'll always hold sacred.
Rabbi Elliot Cosgrove of the Park Avenue Synagogue in Manhattan was one of about a dozen religious leaders who met and prayed with the Pope during his historic trip to New York City in 2015.
I was invited there as a Muslim woman, Interfaith leader. It was just an unbelievably moving experience because he spoke to all of us leaders and talked to us about being prophets of the future. And he was just so humble and so open to other faiths. I don't think we've ever seen that in the history of the Catholic Church.
It was at the National 9/11 Memorial and Museum.
What he did here on this site will be healing. No matter that he is gone, his message lives on here.
The visit lasted for 2 hours, but left behind a trail of hope and healing.
A place that the grief is palpable there, that is a searing scar in the heart of New York, where religion was instrumentalized to do evil. He wanted to bring people together in a culture of dialogue.
At a Mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral Tuesday, grief of the Pope was also shared across all religious communities, from politicians to priests.
Cardinal Dolan invited religious leadership. It's really a mission of Pope Francis's that is lived and breathed here in New York City. We wanted to be there to offer comfort to the Catholic community.
In Lower Manhattan, Jennifer Bisram, CBS News, New York.
And we will bring you continuing coverage of the Pope's funeral and the Vatican's next steps on air and online at cbsnewyork.com.